Ethan had never imagined that stepping onto a distant planet could feel so strange, yet oddly familiar at the same time. The sky was a brilliant shade of violet, streaked with soft gold clouds that moved slower than he expected, almost as if the air itself had weight. Towering structures spiraled upwards in impossible geometries, their surfaces shimmering like liquid metal under the twin suns. He had traveled across the galaxy as part of a human diplomatic mission, but nothing had prepared him for the scale and elegance of the palace before him. The palace's main hall was alive with a subtle hum of alien machinery, accompanied by soft music that Ethan could not identify. Every corner of the hall seemed alive with subtle movement, though no one appeared to be directly moving anything. Floating lights drifted along the walls, casting a golden glow that reflected off the crystal-like floors. He adjusted his translator device, which also doubled as a small protective scanner. Humans were considered rare in this part of the galaxy, and while most alien civilizations welcomed them, some were wary of human unpredictability. Ethan had learned to move cautiously, observing before acting. As he followed the corridor lined with ornate sculptures that depicted alien history, Ethan tried to focus on the mission. He was here to negotiate cultural exchanges and establish trust between humans and Liara's planet, though so far, most of his interactions had been with advisors and palace staff. He had only caught glimpses of the princess, a figure of elegance and intelligence who seemed more interested in study and observation than in politics. Lost in his thoughts, Ethan turned a corner a bit too quickly. The corridor ended abruptly, but he thought he saw another hallway ahead. Trusting his eyes rather than the palace map, he walked forward. The door was slightly ajar, revealing a soft light that spilled into the corridor. He assumed it led to a small study or storage area. After all, palaces of this scale must have hundreds of rooms. With a quiet step, he pushed the door open. What greeted him was unlike any storage room he had imagined. The walls were covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift when he moved, a type of visual illusion alien to him but beautiful nonetheless. Shelves displayed exotic artifacts, crystals that hummed softly, metallic spheres that floated mid-air, and devices he couldn't begin to understand. In the center of the room hung a large portrait. Ethan froze. The painting depicted a human he recognized immediately. It was him. His face, his expression, even the subtle tilt of his head had been captured with uncanny accuracy. His initial thought was disbelief. How could someone in a faraway palace on a distant planet have painted him? He stepped closer, examining the work. The artist had captured even the smallest details. The curve of his smile, the subtle way his hair fell over his forehead. "Who?" Ethan whispered under his breath. Before he could finish, a soft voice echoed behind him. "I see you found it." Ethan spun around. There, standing at the entrance, was the princess herself. Her presence was commanding yet serene, and her large eyes, unlike any human's, seemed to pierce through him, as though she could see everything he was thinking. I didn't mean to enter," Ethan stammered, holding his hand slightly up in a gesture of apology. Liara's expression softened slightly. "I know. Humans are rarely careful in unfamiliar places," she said, her voice melodic but firm. "Yet somehow you've arrived exactly where I hoped someone like you might." Ethan blinked. "Where I hoped?" She gestured to the portrait. "I've been observing your kind for years. Humans are rare in this galaxy, and yet you have qualities we admire: courage, adaptability, curiosity. Your image here is my tribute to what you represent." Ethan tried to make sense of her words. He had been trained for diplomacy, for careful negotiations. But this was something entirely different. Here, in a room that was clearly private, the princess spoke of him not as an outsider, but as someone worthy of admiration. "You painted me?" he asked, still staring at the portrait. Liara smiled faintly. "Not I personally, but my instructions. I wanted to capture a human form and what it represents. Somehow you were the perfect example." Ethan swallowed hard. He had expected to face alien scrutiny, questions about his intentions or perhaps suspicion. But admiration? Recognition? It was overwhelming. The moment was interrupted by a soft chime from a corner device. The princess glanced at it and frowned slightly. "You should be careful. Palace security is cautious about unauthorized presence, though I doubt they would ever question a guest in my quarters. Not yet." Ethan felt a flush of embarrassment. I didn't know." "You are forgiven," Liara said, walking closer. It is not every day that someone enters my private space by accident. Most would panic, most would apologize profusely, yet you remain calm. That itself is human, isn't it? Ethan relaxed slightly, realizing she was not angry. He found himself curious about this princess, her calmness, and her fascination with humans. Humans rarely have such detailed portraits made of them on alien worlds. Why me? Liara looked at him thoughtfully. It is not simply you. It is what you represent. Humans are unpredictable in ways we cannot anticipate, and yet that unpredictability is paired with compassion, creativity, and a strange resilience. You have these traits, and I wanted to honor them. Ethan blinked. He wanted to respond, but found words inadequate. Instead, he allowed himself to study the room, noticing the delicate balance of art and technology. Every object seemed to have meaning, yet there was freedom in the arrangement. Nothing was rigid. Everything suggested movement and thought. Do others know about this? Ethan asked cautiously. Liara shook her head. Only I study humans in secret. Most of my advisors think human traits are irrelevant, unremarkable. They underestimate you. That is why I find you fascinating. That is why you are here now. Ethan felt a mixture of pride and unease. Being admired was one thing. Being studied without consent was another. Yet there was no malice in her words, only curiosity and respect. A faint vibration from the floor reminded Ethan that he was still in alien territory, far from the safety of human companions. I hope I am not intruding where I should not, he said carefully. You are intruding, yes, Liara said with a hint of amusement, but in a way that brings opportunity. Most would see a mistake, a trespass. You see balance and you remain composed. That is why humans are interesting, and why I need someone like you to understand more about my world. Ethan absorbed her words. It was not a typical diplomatic encounter. Here he was not just a human diplomat. He was a representative of his species in ways that mattered more than treaties or trade agreements. His presence, accidental though it might have been, had significance. Will you explain more? He asked, feeling both nervous and excited. Liara gestured for him to sit in one of the low floating chairs. Yes, but first tell me about your journey. About your people, humans. I want to know why your kind survives, why your kind strives, why your kind dares to reach worlds so far from home. As Ethan began to recount the story of human exploration, colonization, and resilience, he realized that the accidental intrusion had led to a moment of genuine connection. In this room, under alien skies and before a portrait that seemed almost prophetic, he was no longer just a visitor. He was part of something larger, something that could bridge worlds. And yet he could not shake a small feeling of unease. If he had stumbled into the princess's room by accident, what else might he discover by chance? What other secrets did this palace and perhaps this planet hold? For now, though, he pushed those thoughts aside, sitting across from Liara, in a room filled with strange wonders and the silent admiration of someone who understood humans in ways few others did. Ethan realized that this was the beginning of something extraordinary. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and often dangerous, but humans had always thrived in the face of the unknown. And perhaps, just perhaps, that was exactly why he was here in this room, staring at a portrait of himself on an alien world. Ethan had spent hours listening to Liara speak, her words flowing like soft music, yet filled with an intelligence that made him feel both challenged and inspired. He had thought he understood humans and alien worlds alike, but nothing had prepared him for the depth of her curiosity or her admiration for his species. Liara leaned back in her floating chair, eyes shimmering in the soft violet light of her room. Humans are different, she said finally. You do not see the galaxy as obstacles and rules. You see possibilities. Even now, in a place built by strict traditions and cautious rulers, you move with a sense of purpose. That is rare. Ethan smiled faintly, unsure how to respond. I just try to observe first, learn first, then act, she nodded. Exactly. And that is why I wanted to meet a human, not through diplomacy, not through ceremony, but by chance. You are honest in ways others here are not, and honesty is a rarity in the corridors of power. For a moment, the two of them sat in silence. Ethan's gaze wandered around the room again, noticing details he had missed before. Small crystals floated gently, changing colors in response to his movement. Shelves held books and devices that no human had ever seen, and the walls covered in swirling, shifting patterns seemed almost alive. Each detail hinted at centuries of thought and culture, yet none of it intimidated him. "Do others know about humans here?" Ethan asked cautiously. "Do they know about your admiration?" Liara shook her head. "No. Most of my advisors dismiss humans entirely. They think of you as insignificant, incapable of understanding the galaxy's complexity. They are wrong. That is why I observe you secretly. That is why your image hangs in this room. Not to frighten or confuse, but to remind me that intelligence and courage can come in unexpected forms." Ethan leaned forward. "You painted me?" Liara's smile was quiet, almost private. "Not directly. I commissioned the work. The artist could not capture your presence exactly, but he tried, and somehow he succeeded. It is rare for humans to inspire art in a world that has seen centuries of wonders." Ethan's chest tightened. He had never considered himself extraordinary. On Earth, he had been just another scientist, explorer, diplomat. But here, on a distant planet, with a princess who studied humans for their strengths, he felt valued. Then the hum of the room shifted. Ethan felt the vibrations before he heard them. Something outside was moving, subtle, deliberate. Liara's eyes narrowed. "They are cautious," she said softly. "You should remain calm and you should trust me. Some in my council see humans as unpredictable threats. Others see us both as threats." Ethan's heart skipped. "Threats?" Liara rose gracefully, her hand gesturing toward a door on the far side of the room. "Come, I will show you." Curious and cautious, Ethan followed. The door led to a hidden passageway, narrow and lined with unfamiliar materials. Tiny lights embedded in the walls illuminated the path. "Where are we going?" he asked. "To a place few enter," Liara replied. "A library, a chamber of knowledge and observation. Here I keep records of my studies on species, planets, and civilizations. Humans are not the only ones I watch, but you are unique." As they walked, Ethan noticed symbols etched into the walls. They glowed faintly, responding to their proximity. Liara explained that these were security measures, designed to detect and record movements within the palace. "I bypassed them for you," she said with a hint of amusement. "Because I trust you. And because trust is something humans understand better than most species I know." When they reached the library, Ethan's breath caught. The room was vast, stretching farther than he could see, filled with floating books, holographic displays, and devices that seemed to archive knowledge from across the galaxy. Walls displayed star charts, planetary histories, and records of species that humans had never dreamed existed. Liara gestured toward a section near the center. "Here are my records on humans. You may think them incomplete or biased, but they are honest. You adapt, you create, you survive. That is what I admire most." Ethan moved closer, studying the displays. Images of humans, some known to him, some entirely new, flashed across the screens. They were explorers, thinkers, warriors, scientists. Each one was accompanied by notes on behavior, accomplishments, and challenges. The detail was incredible. "You've done all this? For us?" he asked, his voice quiet. Liara's gaze softened. "Not for you, not for humans. For understanding. The galaxy is vast, filled with species that often misunderstand each other. I study humans to learn why you endure, why you excel, why you are remarkable." Ethan was struck by the sincerity in her voice. He had thought humans were admired for technology or political influence. But it was something deeper. The resilience of the human spirit. The ability to adapt and persevere in the face of unknown challenges. Then Liara's expression changed. She stepped closer to a display showing a series of palace corridors and rooms. "But admiration alone is not enough," she said. "There are threats here, hidden threats. Some see my fascination with humans as dangerous. They fear influence, change, and unpredictability." Ethan frowned. "Threats? Like what?" She hesitated, then gestured for him to follow. "I cannot say much yet, but I will show you. Trust is crucial. Your species has an unusual capacity for insight, for seeing beyond what is immediately visible. That will be needed." They entered another section of the library where a holographic map displayed the palace in astonishing detail. Red markers blinked in certain areas. These are areas under surveillance by the Council's more suspicious members. They suspect activity here, but not all of it. I move carefully. Yet even I cannot predict every move. That is why someone like you is invaluable. Ethan studied the map. The scale and complexity of the palace made it almost impossible for a human to navigate unnoticed. Yet Liara moved with ease. She had learned its secrets, its hidden passages, its silent alarms, and she trusted him enough to guide him into its depths. "Why me?" Ethan asked again. "Why a human?" Liara's eyes met his, steady and unwavering. "Because humans do not always follow patterns. You think creatively. You improvise. You are brave without arrogance. That combination is rare. It is exactly what I need if we are to uncover the truth about those who oppose me within my own council." A chill ran down Ethan's spine. He had expected challenges on this mission, but he had never imagined himself part of palace intrigue on an alien world. Yet her confidence in him sparked a strange determination. Humans were adaptable, resourceful, and courageous. Perhaps this was a test, or perhaps it was fate. Liara continued, her voice calm but firm. "Some in my council would see your presence as a threat, but I see it differently. Together, we may be able to prevent actions that could destabilize this planet, and you will learn why humans are admired, feared, and respected across worlds." Ethan nodded. "I will do my best." She smiled faintly, a mixture of approval and curiosity. "Good. Your best is more than enough." As they walked back toward the princess's private chamber, Ethan glanced once more at the portrait of himself. It no longer seemed just a painting. It was a symbol, a bridge between two species, a representation of qualities that could change the course of events on a world he barely knew. "You must understand," Liara said softly, almost to herself, "that humans are rare in their courage and ingenuity. Rare and yet capable of great influence. That is why I chose him, not by design but by chance." Ethan felt a warmth of pride he had never experienced before, to be admired not for status or power, but for qualities that were inherent to his kind was humbling and terrifying. Because with admiration came responsibility, and with trust came danger. As the twin suns began to set on the alien horizon, bathing the palace in shades of crimson and gold, Ethan realized that his accidental intrusion into the princess's room was only the beginning. Secrets, threats, and adventures awaited him. Adventures that would test not only his courage and intelligence, but the very essence of what it meant to be human. For the first time since leaving Earth, he felt the weight of destiny, not as a lone explorer, not as a diplomat, but as a human, unexpectedly significant in a galaxy that had never truly known the strength of his kind. And Liara, standing beside him, watching him with quiet admiration, seemed to understand this more clearly than anyone else. Together they would uncover hidden truths, navigate treacherous corridors of power, and prove that humans, though rare, were capable of extraordinary impact. Ethan took a deep breath. The adventure had just begun. The palace was quieter than usual that morning. Even the hum of the alien machinery seemed muted, as though the entire building sensed the tension in the air. Ethan walked alongside Liara through the grand corridors, his mind focused on the task ahead. Today they would confront the council. Today the conspirators' plans would face the light. Liara's expression was calm, yet there was a sharp edge to her gaze. "This will not be simple," she said softly. "Some council members are clever. They rely on deceit, manipulation, and hidden influence. But honesty, clarity, and proof can overcome even the most careful schemes." Ethan nodded. "We have the evidence. We've tracked their meetings, analyzed their communications, and mapped their alliances. It's clear who is involved." "Yes," Liara replied, "but presentation is crucial. One misstep and they may twist the situation, making us the apparent threat instead." They arrived at the council chamber, a massive circular room with seats arranged like a constellation of stars. The council members were already present, their alien forms varied and imposing, their eyes watching for any sign of disruption. Whispers traveled across the chamber as Liara entered, but the murmurs fell silent when she gestured for Ethan to step forward. "This is Ethan," Liara announced, "a human and an observer of great insight. He has uncovered information crucial to the safety and stability of our world." Ethan felt the weight of every gaze on him. Some were curious, others were skeptical or suspicious, but he stood tall, taking a deep breath. Humans were not always the strongest, but they were often the most adaptable, and he would show them that today. He began calmly, presenting the evidence they had gathered. Holographic projections displayed secret communications, meetings, and patterns of deception. Red lines traced hidden alliances, connections that the conspirators had hoped would remain invisible. Each council member's actions were mapped, each secret correspondence decoded and displayed for all to see. The room was silent, the hum of technology and the whisper of energy fields filling the space. Ethan spoke slowly, deliberately, pointing out inconsistencies, hidden motives, and the potential consequences of inaction. "The conspirators believe their actions are hidden," he said. "But humans notice patterns and we understand the weight of consequences. If their plan succeeds, it will destabilize leadership, sow distrust, and endanger the people of this world." One council member, a tall figure with luminescent blue skin, narrowed their eyes. "And why should we trust a human?" they demanded. "You are an outsider. You do not understand our politics, our culture, our ways." Ethan met their gaze steadily. "I may be an outsider in your world," he said, "but humans have survived and thrived in environments far beyond their home. We have faced challenges, dangers, and unknown worlds and adapted. Observation, insight, and courage are not limited to any single species. The evidence here is clear. The conspirators' actions are real and they endanger your world." Liara stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. "He is correct," she said. "The evidence is undeniable. These plots were designed to manipulate, deceive, and weaken my authority. We act not out of personal grievance, but out of responsibility to our people." A murmur spread through the chamber. Some council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats, realizing the depth of the exposure. Others tried to maintain composure, but the strength of the evidence was undeniable. Ethan continued, calmly answering questions, clarifying points, and providing context. His calmness under pressure, his logical reasoning, and his willingness to explain details in simple, understandable terms gradually won over skeptics. Humans were often underestimated, but their ability to communicate clearly and analyze deeply gave them an advantage. Finally, one of the conspirators, a figure with metallic scales glinting under the chamber lights, spoke. "If this is true, what do you propose?" Liara's eyes were steady. "Justice, transparency, and accountability. We will correct the course before further harm occurs. Those who conspired in secret must face the Council's judgment. And we will ensure our world remains stable and united," Ethan added. "And humans can help. Not to take control, but to offer perspective. Sometimes an outsider can see things those within the system overlook. That is why I am here, and why we have succeeded in uncovering the truth." The room fell silent again. Council members exchanged glances, weighing their options. Some were impressed by the clarity of the evidence, others hesitant to admit their miscalculations. But the strength of the truth, combined with Liara's authority and Ethan's insight, made resistance difficult. After a long pause, the eldest member of the council spoke. "The evidence is thorough and the presentation is compelling. The conspirators' actions are clear. They will be held accountable, and it appears humans may indeed offer value beyond what we understood." Liara nodded. "Yes, humans possess qualities we often overlook: courage, insight, creativity, and empathy. These are traits that strengthen understanding and collaboration across worlds." Ethan felt a quiet satisfaction. Humans had often been underestimated, dismissed, or overlooked in galactic affairs. Yet here, on this distant planet, their traits had influenced events in ways that no one had anticipated. The conspirators were summoned for judgment, their plots exposed, and their plans foiled. Some protested, attempting to manipulate the situation, but the combination of evidence and testimony made their arguments ineffective. Transparency and clarity won the day. Liara turned to Ethan afterward. "You were instrumental," she said quietly. "Without your insight, your observations, and your courage, the conspirators might have succeeded. They underestimated you and, by extension, your species." Ethan smiled faintly. "I just noticed what others missed. Humans are used to solving problems, even in unfamiliar places. We adapt, we analyze, we act." Liara's gaze was thoughtful. "That is why humans matter. Not because of strength, technology, or numbers, but because of what you do with the tools you have, what you perceive, and how you act in the face of uncertainty. That is power." For the first time, Ethan truly understood the depth of her admiration. It was not mere curiosity or fascination. It was recognition of something fundamental: the human ability to navigate complexity, to persevere, and to make a difference when circumstances seemed impossible. Over the next few days, the council worked to restore stability. The conspirators were removed from positions of influence. their plots neutralized. Liara's leadership was strengthened, not through fear or force, but through trust, transparency, and the courage to confront danger with truth. Ethan was present throughout, observing, advising, and assisting when needed. He realized that humans' greatest contribution was not domination, but guidance, clarity, and the willingness to face challenges with honesty and creativity. One evening, as the twin suns set and bathed the palace in warm light, Liara led Ethan back to her private chamber. The portrait of him hung on the wall, unchanged, yet now it felt different. It was no longer just a tribute. It was a symbol of what humans could achieve even on distant worlds. "You have done more than I imagined," Liara said softly. "And yet this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast, filled with challenges and opportunities. Humans may be few here, but your species' qualities can shape events far beyond your homeworld." Ethan nodded. I never thought I'd have this kind of impact. Back on Earth, I was just one person among billions. Here, it feels like our actions matter in ways I never understood. Liara smiled. "Because they do. Courage, insight, and empathy. These are universal strengths. They matter everywhere, and they have the power to change worlds." Ethan studied the portrait again. In it, his expression seemed calm yet alert, aware yet unafraid. He realized that humans' qualities were timeless. Curiosity, adaptability, bravery, and the ability to see connections others missed. These were the traits that had uncovered the conspiracy, strengthened Liara's leadership, and ensured the safety of an entire planet, and he knew that their journey was far from over. The galaxy held countless secrets, countless civilizations, and countless challenges, but humans had a place in it, not as conquerors but as innovators, problem solvers, and allies. As he left the chamber that night, Ethan felt a quiet pride, not for himself alone, but for his species. Humans were capable of extraordinary things: courage, insight, and the willingness to act, even in the most uncertain circumstances, were more powerful than many realized. And on this distant planet, under the watchful eyes of a princess who understood them, those qualities had not only been recognized, they had changed the course of events for an entire world. Ethan knew that the galaxy would test him again. He knew that challenges would arise, some more dangerous than this palace intrigue. But he also knew that humans had something unique to offer: the ability to face the unknown, to adapt, and to inspire trust and action through courage and insight. And perhaps, in time, that would make humans not just admired, but respected across the stars. The palace was alive with energy. Word of the Council's exposure had spread quickly, and the citizens of Liara's planet were cautiously optimistic. Rumors of secret plots long hidden had caused unrest, but the swift resolution brought relief. Ethan walked through the grand halls with Liara, noting the subtle changes in atmosphere. There was a sense of respect now, an acknowledgement that courage and truth could overcome even the most secretive conspiracies. Liara's presence commanded attention, yet she moved with calm grace, a symbol of stability and leadership. Beside her, Ethan felt both pride and humility. He had entered her room by accident, not knowing the impact he would have. Now, he was recognized as an important contributor to the planet's safety, a human whose insight had been instrumental. "The Council will continue reforms," Liara said softly, leading him toward her private chamber. "Transparency, accountability, and cooperation. Those who acted in secret will be removed from positions of power, but their influence will be minimized through dialogue and understanding." "This is just the beginning," Ethan nodded. "It's remarkable. Your leadership, combined with, well, our observations, made all the difference. Humans are used to facing challenges, but this was on a scale I never imagined." Liara glanced at him, her eyes thoughtful. "Humans are remarkable not because of size, numbers, or technology, but because of what you carry inside: curiosity, courage, empathy, and adaptability. These qualities are rare across the galaxy. That is why your presence has been so important." They entered the chamber, and Ethan's gaze immediately fell on the portrait of himself. It hung on the wall, quiet and steady, but now it seemed almost alive, a reminder of how far he had come. He realized the portrait symbolized more than admiration. It was a testament to humans' potential. "You should know," Liara said, her voice calm but firm, "that your actions have become part of the history of this planet, not as a diplomat or a guest, but as someone who helped preserve peace and stability. Few humans can claim such impact in alien worlds." Ethan's chest tightened. He had never sought recognition. Back on Earth, he had been one among billions working quietly, unnoticed. Here, he had accidentally stumbled into a role that mattered, and he felt the weight of responsibility and pride together. Over the next few days, preparations began for a formal ceremony. Citizens, advisors, and dignitaries from neighboring planets were invited. It would be a celebration of transparency, courage, and the collaborative spirit between humans and Liara's people. Ethan was to be recognized officially for his contributions, a rare honor for an outsider. On the day of the ceremony, the palace was filled with vibrant colors, music, and the soft hum of alien technology. Floating lights traced intricate patterns across the hall, illuminating sculptures, portraits, and murals depicting the planet's history. Liara moved confidently through the crowd, and Ethan followed, absorbing the wonder and gravity of the moment. The council chamber had been transformed into a hall of recognition. A large platform held a crystal podium, and seats were arranged for dignitaries and citizens. As Liara stepped forward to address the assembly, silence fell. Every gaze turned toward her, and then, as she gestured, toward Ethan. "Today," Liara began, her voice calm and clear, "we honor not only our own people, who strive for truth and justice, but also a visitor from another world, a human, whose insight, courage, and perseverance have been invaluable in preserving our planet's stability." Ethan felt the weight of the moment. He had been admired privately, but public recognition was something entirely different. Yet he stood tall, reminding himself that humans were capable of extraordinary things. And this was proof. Liara continued, recounting the events that had led to the exposure of the conspirators. She spoke of the council's deception, the hidden alliances, and the careful observations that had uncovered the truth. And when she spoke of Ethan's role, the crowd's attention sharpened. "Ethan," she said, "entered my private chamber by accident, yet his courage, insight, and intuition revealed truths we could not see alone. His presence has reminded us that understanding and collaboration across species can strengthen our world in ways we never imagined." The chamber erupted in applause. Not loud and chaotic like humans often experienced, but a resonant, heartfelt acknowledgement. Ethan felt a warmth spread through him. Humans often underestimated themselves, but here, in the eyes of an alien civilization, he saw respect and gratitude, not for status or power, but for courage, honesty, and contribution. After the ceremony, Liara led Ethan to a quiet balcony overlooking the alien city. Twin suns were setting, casting a warm golden glow across shimmering towers and spiraling walkways. The sky was painted with hues of violet, gold, and deep crimson. "You have changed perceptions," Liara said softly, "not just about humans, but about collaboration, courage, and insight. You've proven that even a single individual, guided by honesty and determination, can make a difference." Ethan smiled, feeling both pride and humility. "I just did what I could. Humans often do that. We face challenges, solve problems, and adapt, but I never expected it to matter on this scale." Liara's eyes reflected the sunset, thoughtful and sincere. "That is why humans are important. Your strength is not in force, but in ingenuity, empathy, and perseverance. That is why your species is admired, even when underestimated." Ethan glanced at the portrait on the wall behind her. It seemed almost alive now, a quiet witness to the events that had unfolded. He realized that humans' qualities, curiosity, bravery, and the ability to act when others hesitate had been more than useful. They had altered the course of events on an entire world. Over the following weeks, reforms within the council strengthened Liara's leadership. Transparency and accountability became guiding principles. Humans were officially welcomed into diplomatic and cultural exchanges, their contributions recognized and valued. Ethan assisted where needed, his human perspective offering insight into strategy, communication, and problem-solving that even the most experienced alien advisors had overlooked. One evening, as Ethan and Liara walked through the palace gardens, he reflected on the journey. "It's strange," he said, "that a simple mistake entering your room led to all this. I never expected it to matter so much." Liara smiled. "Sometimes accidents lead to opportunities. Sometimes curiosity opens doors we did not know existed. And sometimes humans, rare, adaptable, insightful humans, make a difference simply by being themselves." Ethan chuckled softly. I suppose humans have a way of surprising worlds even when we don't realize it ourselves. Liara's smile deepened. Yes, and now your species is remembered here, not as outsiders but as allies, observers, and catalysts for change. Your presence, accidental though it was, has created ripples that will influence generations. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. He had always believed humans were capable, but to see it recognized in this way by an alien civilization was humbling, not because of fame, but because it proved that courage, insight, and integrity mattered everywhere. In the following months, Ethan continued to collaborate with Liara, sharing human knowledge, problem-solving techniques, and perspectives that enriched the planet's governance and cultural understanding. Humans were welcomed with curiosity and respect, and Ethan's accidental entry into the princess's room became a story of inspiration, told in private and public circles alike, reminding all that even small actions could lead to significant change. Finally, on a quiet evening, Ethan stood once more before the portrait of himself in Liara's chamber. It no longer seemed merely a painting. It was a symbol, a bridge between humans and this alien world, a reminder that qualities often overlooked, courage, creativity, empathy, and adaptability, could shape destinies. Liara appeared beside him, her gaze steady and approving. You have done more than survive here. You have left a mark that will endure. That is what humans can do. Unexpected, underestimated, and yet capable of extraordinary influence. Ethan smiled. I never thought I would matter this much on a distant world. But I understand now. Humans can make a difference wherever we go, not by force, but by being who we are. Liara's expression softened. And that is why your species is admired across galaxies. Not for power, not for conquest, but for courage, insight, and the ability to inspire change. You are a part of our story now. As the twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the palace, Ethan realized that this journey, beginning with an accidental intrusion, had become more than a mission. It was a testament to the human spirit, to the qualities that made them rare and remarkable across the stars. And in that quiet, glowing chamber with the portrait of himself watching silently, Ethan understood that humans could face the unknown, navigate danger, and leave a lasting impact, not only on Earth, but across the galaxy. For now, the palace was at peace, the council restored, and the bond between human and alien stronger than ever. But Ethan knew that the galaxy was vast, full of mysteries, challenges, and opportunities. And wherever humans went, they would carry the same courage, insight, and ingenuity that had shaped this distant world. Ethan took a deep breath and smiled. The adventure had not ended. It had only begun. And humans, rare and remarkable, would continue to leave their mark, one choice, one action, and one unexpected step at a time. The palace felt different at night. Though the twin suns had dipped below the horizon, the alien architecture glowed softly from countless embedded crystals. Ethan walked beside Liara, moving cautiously along one of the many corridors that twisted and spiraled in ways that seemed impossible. The palace was alive with quiet energy, and Ethan had begun to understand that every surface, every device, every shimmer of light held purpose. Why are we walking at night? Ethan asked. Wouldn't it be safer to wait until the day? Liara glanced at him, her expression calm but serious. At night, fewer people are moving about. Those who might oppose me are less vigilant. And yet even in darkness one must remain alert. My advisors are clever. Some may suspect more than we think. Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of their mission. It was one thing to be admired. It was another to be trusted with secrets that could determine the fate of a planet. They approached a doorway that was cleverly hidden behind a rotating wall panel. Liara pressed a sequence of symbols and the panel slid open silently, revealing a small chamber filled with monitors, holographic maps, and data streams. The room hummed with a low energy that Ethan felt in his chest, as if the walls themselves were aware of his presence. These are the council chambers, Liara said, gesturing to the glowing displays. Not all of them are loyal to me. Some see humans as unpredictable. They fear influence change. They would act against me if they believed I favored outsiders. Ethan studied the holographic maps, noticing red markers indicating areas of high activity. How many are against you? He asked cautiously. Liara hesitated. At least 3 of the council members. Perhaps more. They are subtle. Their plots are hidden beneath layers of politics and protocol. But their intentions are clear if one looks carefully. Ethan frowned. He had faced diplomatic challenges before, but never one that involved hidden enemies within a palace. "So what do we do?" She smiled faintly. "We observe, we gather evidence, and when the time comes, we act." The next several hours were spent navigating secret passages, observing council members, and piecing together patterns of movement and conversation. Ethan realized that humans had a natural advantage: the ability to think differently, to connect dots others might miss, to improvise in real time. He pointed out patterns in schedules, reactions to events, and subtle signs of deception that even Liara had not noticed. "You see more clearly than most," Liara admitted. "Your species does not always follow predictable patterns. That is why I chose you, not because I needed strength, but because I needed insight." Ethan felt a surge of pride. He had always known humans were clever, adaptable, and resourceful, but to hear it from someone as intelligent and experienced as Liara made him feel significant. As the night deepened, they discovered more than patterns. Hidden rooms and passages, secret meetings, and encrypted communications revealed that a faction of the council planned to take control of Liara's authority. Their motives were simple yet dangerous. They feared that human influence would weaken traditional power structures, and they were willing to act in secret to prevent any perceived threat. "We need proof," Ethan said. "We cannot confront them without evidence," Liara nodded. "Agreed, and that is where you will be invaluable. Your perspective, your intuition, your creativity, they are exactly what is needed to uncover their plans without alerting them." Their first attempt to gather information was subtle. Ethan observed from shadows as council members met in a private chamber, their gestures and whispers revealing more than words. He noticed the way one council member avoided direct eye contact when certain topics arose, the way another's hands trembled slightly when discussing human relations, the slight hesitation in every sentence that betrayed intent. "It's small things," Ethan whispered. "Body language, pauses, patterns. Humans are good at noticing these. I can predict their next moves if we track them carefully." Liara's eyes gleamed with admiration. "Excellent. That is exactly what I need. You understand subtlety in ways my people often overlook." Over the next few days, Ethan and Liara worked together, mapping out the hidden alliances and secret communications. Ethan marveled at her intelligence and composure. She moved with grace, yet her mind was sharp, constantly analyzing, predicting, and planning. For someone so young, her understanding of both her people and the galaxy was remarkable. Then came the test. A hidden corridor led to a small chamber where sensitive data was stored, a room no one dared enter without authorization. Ethan examined the security measures, which included shifting walls, energy fields, and motion-sensitive locks. The technology was unlike anything on Earth, yet he saw patterns in it, small gaps that could be exploited without triggering alarms. "Leave this to me," Ethan said quietly, kneeling to inspect the floor panels. "Your security is impressive, but every system has weaknesses. We just need to move carefully, predict the responses, and remain calm." Liara watched silently, her eyes sharp and curious. "Humans are fearless in ways that are surprising. I would have hesitated to attempt this, yet you see possibility where others see risk." Ethan's fingers worked quickly but cautiously, manipulating panels and observing energy flows. The system reacted as expected. Minor fluctuations in light and energy confirmed the gaps he had predicted. Within minutes, he opened the chamber without triggering any alarms. Inside, holographic data streams displayed encrypted messages between the conspirators. Ethan and Liara analyzed the communication, translating alien code and piecing together their plan. They discovered a timeline for an attempt to weaken Liara's influence, with subtle actions designed to shift loyalty among council members and manipulate public perception. "This is it," Liara whispered, awe in her voice. "Proof, evidence, we can stop them now if we act carefully." Ethan nodded. "But we must be cautious. They are clever and resourceful. Humans are good at improvising, yes, but they will adapt if they suspect someone is watching." Liara smiled faintly. "And humans are unpredictable, which is why I trust you. Your species sees solutions where others see obstacles. Your mind does not confine itself to tradition or fear. That is why you are here." As they prepared to leave the chamber, a faint sound echoed behind them. Ethan froze. "Someone's coming." Liara moved with lightning speed, pressing a hidden panel that concealed the entrance. Shadows shifted around them, the soft hum of the palace masking their presence. Ethan realized then that humans' natural ability to remain calm under pressure, to improvise in unexpected situations, would be essential. They watched silently as a council member entered the room unaware of the intruders. The member's gaze swept the chamber, noticing nothing unusual before leaving. Ethan exhaled quietly. "Close call," Liara nodded. "Indeed, but you handled it well. That is why humans are valuable allies. Not just for strength, but for perception, for courage, for the ability to act when others hesitate." Ethan felt a mix of relief and pride. He had never imagined that human traits would be so crucial on an alien world. Yet here he was, moving through hidden corridors, gathering proof and earning the trust of a princess who understood the importance of qualities that many others overlooked. Over the following days, Ethan and Liara continued their investigations, each step revealing more about the conspirators' plans. They found secret alliances, hidden correspondences, and subtle manipulations designed to sway influential figures. Ethan's human intuition allowed them to predict moves and counter them before they could escalate. Liara's admiration for humans deepened. "Your species does not merely survive," she said one evening as they reviewed their findings. "You adapt. You innovate. You inspire. That is why humans matter in ways my council cannot yet comprehend." Ethan felt a sense of purpose he had never known. On Earth, he had been just one person among billions. Here he was part of something larger, a mission that could shape the future of a planet and bridge understanding between species. And yet he knew that danger was still close. The conspirators were clever, and even the best plans could fail. But Ethan also knew this. Humans were capable of extraordinary things when faced with challenges. Courage, ingenuity, and empathy, traits that seemed ordinary on Earth, were rare and powerful on Liara's world. As they prepared for the next phase of their plan, Ethan felt a strange thrill. He was no longer just a visitor or a diplomat. He was an essential part of an unfolding story, one where human qualities could tip the balance and prevent chaos. Liara glanced at him, her expression both serious and hopeful. "Are you ready?" Ethan nodded firmly. "I'm ready. Humans don't back down when the path is uncertain. We adapt, we endure, and we act." Liara's eyes shone with quiet approval. "Good. Then we move forward together. And perhaps in time your species will be recognized not only for its curiosity, but for its strength, wisdom, and courage." Together they left the hidden chamber, stepping back into the palace corridors that shimmered under the twin suns' fading glow. The night was filled with danger, secrecy, and the quiet hum of possibility. But Ethan felt certain of one thing. Humans were capable of facing the unknown, of navigating danger, and of leaving a lasting mark on even the most alien worlds. And on this distant planet, in a palace filled with secrets, challenges, and wonder, that human quality would prove more powerful than anyone could have imagined.